it's Keith, something about Keith.
Yeah.
No, nothing else about Keith. You know, it's literally day to day. That's where it's at. I may have said that Monday night since you were listening. Day to day. Day's Wednesday. You know, you can hear something by the end of the day. Maybe it's tomorrow. I think they have until, if I'm correct about this, they have until Monday. If I'm correct on this, the amount of time they have it in their hands. So hopefully we could hear something this week, one way or the other.
With him, is he able to work out with you guys, or is he all on his own? Or I guess if he does get allowed to come back, where would you say he's at?
Well, it's been a mixture of both. I mean, naturally, once we started playing all these games, you know, we couldn't work with him every day. That didn't mean he wasn't working out, getting some workout in, some individual workouts, and you know, some other team stuff, at least some shooting stuff. But when it comes to all the game planning and scouts and learning stuff, he's kind of been on the sideline a little bit with that. He's probably been, you know, went home for Christmas like most guys, came back after Christmas, and he's probably been a little bit more involved after Christmas than he was. But to his credit, you know, he is, as difficult as it is, he's tried to stay engaged, and you all know that's difficult. I mean, he's missing, you know, he's already missed 15 games, whatever it is, 16 games, whatever we've played so far. That's hard. You know, I'm out, you know, we went 2 or 3 months hoping it would be next week, then the next week, and then you go down that road a little bit, and all of a sudden you got to go down another one. It takes more time. So, but we're basically at the end of the roads with it now. There won't be no more left or right turns, we don't think. So, so he's tried to stay engaged. He's had a lot more individual workouts. He does that, and I think his body's in. You asked the question, where is he at? You know, I think he's done a really good job in the weight room. His body looks a lot better than he got here. I think he's probably 75-80%. You know, from a conditioning, you know, 75%, you know, doing drills and all that's totally different, going up and down. But here's what I believe about him once that time comes. Just because he's an experienced guy. You know, he's a fifth-year guy. That's number one. Number two, I think he has some toughness about him. You know, I think all that stuff will be, you know, easier to adjust than a freshman or sophomore coming in that hadn't played much and trying to get eligible. He's played. He's played 30 games a year. So, and he brings a couple things that we think will help us, that'll help his adjustment, even his ability to defend, his ability to rebound, those kind of things. And there's no substitute for the experience he's had. So now executing, knowing sets and plays, that'll be his adjustments a little bit. And the speed of the game will be a little bit of adjustment. But I think he can come in a few games, start making that adjustment pretty quickly.
You know, in terms of Rice, you know, it seems like they've got some good guards, shoot a lot of threes, make a lot of threes. You know, kind of like FIU, I guess. How would you compare them to FIU and what they do?
Well, very similar styles, but shoot it better. You know, if that's possible, or as good for sure. On paper, probably better. Some kids for sure. You know, there's not and make sure I'm right on this, Zach. You can check this out too. I don't think there's another player in the league who's made 40-plus threes. Is that right or wrong? Check that out. They have 2 guys that's done it. Again, let me state that again. I don't think there's another team in our league where there's one player's made 40 or more threes. They have 2 players that's made 40-plus threes. You know, Eve was a kid. He's been there. The other kid's a transfer from UMass, Pierre. That's really been a difference for them. They were a good team last year, but he's made a total difference in them. They still got all those other guards. Big boy on the inside, fielder on the inside, and you know, the kid off the bench is adding to, had 18 against UAB. So all you need to know about them is this: they beat UAB. And we all know how talented and how good UAB is, who just came off going to North Texas and winning. They present a lot of problems, and their style is very similar to Florida International, 4 out around that one. They're going to spread it a lot, but I think a little better players even. Yep.
I wasn't here Saturday, but touching on.
Where was you at?
I was covering high school basketball. There was a classic at Bowling Green High School. There were 5 games.
I guess we'll forgive you that one time then.
I saw your son play. Greenwood play.
Saturday night? They play Saturday night?
They played Owensboro, yeah.
Oh, Saturday?
Yeah, that was like the 3rd game of the ball.
Okay,
So I
gotcha.
was there all day.
We missed you.
Well, I miss you too. But touching on that, like with what he asked about FIU, getting that first conference win under your belt, doing it in front of the home crowd, how juiced up does that get you guys and the team entering a 2-game stretch this week at home?
Well, again, being at home, your home crowd's that's always good. In particular, what we went through last year, basically no crowd. So, it's a long season. You take them one at a time, and but it's always good get a win, and that's behind us. And now we got 2 more facing us. It'll be our first Thursday, Saturday situation we've had since we ain't had it either one of these first 2 weeks. So that'll be another challenge for us too, and particularly both really good teams. I mean, I don't know if anybody really thought Rice would beat UAB and be where they're at. We all know North Texas was going to be really good again, and they have been. They're really good, and they've got a little point guard they brought in from JUCO that's really good, and those other guys are back, and Bell's at the 4, and big kid on the inside's really good. So they've had some good wins, and they're a really good team too. So it'll be a challenge for us back to back here Thursday and Saturday afternoon, 8 o'clock Thursday and 3 o'clock Saturday.
Coach, and just looking at like last season, playing against North Texas in the Conference USA Championship game, just how intense of a matchup is this going to be? Just first time playing them since that game.
Well, again, we both got different teams now, so they got some different guys, and we got some different guys. We're a different kind of team, so I don't put a lot into that. That's all last year. Hey, we get into this year because they're a really good team this year, and it's we got them here at home, so. There's not a lot of thought into that. I don't get into that type of stuff as much as you think we would. Players maybe think about it some, maybe, but we're a totally different team. And we got some players back, but we're just different in some of those situations, and they are too. So we just know they're one of the better teams in the league, and that's kind of what we'll look at, And I think because they're one of the better teams in the league, that's enough to give you a little bit more juice in itself. More so than kind of what happened last year, if that makes sense.
Well, one thing that I ask the players is, if you look at from the first game against Alabama State to where we are today, a lot of, positive things you can measure growth-wise, but what's the one thing that stood out about your team just up to this point in the year as far as growth goes?
That's a really good question. I think it's very obvious. There's been a lot of growth on this team from the first time we played, or it was Alabama State, you said, wasn't it? And I probably told y'all before the games, hey, I'm going to sit back and learn just like you all. Y'all asking me questions about my team. Hey, some of these guys, I don't know. I've never seen them play. I don't know how they react. Some of them react different at 3 o'clock than they do 7 o'clock. 3 o'clock in the afternoon at practice versus 7 o'clock at night. So it's all been a learning curve, and I do think, probably Jay Mars made us play a lot more zone we've ever played. He's changed some things for us. I think we've gotten really, our rhythm and chemistry's gotten pretty good since Cam's come into that thing. That ball's moved. We've been pretty skilled out there, and for the most part, we've shot the ball, decently well. I think the biggest challenge, didn't know we'd have as much, is I was hoping we could throw the ball to the block more, and we throw the ball to the block. That's one area we haven't been great at. So that's been a little bit of adjustment. But overall, we need another guy in that perimeter to give us some depth. We haven't been playing about 6 guys. Bud's being the 7th one here now, and he's went through a long stretch where he hadn't played much. Then we played without Josh, 3 games with no depth. Jarius. Those kind of things are all been different. But through all that, I like the progress our team's made. I like our young men, like them as people. They like each other. I think they're a fun group to watch play, because a lot of things can happen out there, different times, and no question, the big guy on the inside, changes some things for a lot of people, different nights. So I like where we're at. Getting some more depth would definitely help us, help give some guys a little bit more rest. And that's not just talking about Keith. That's maybe a guy or 2 off that bench continue to develop to give us more depth. I mean, we need some more depth at that 5 spot. J-Mar can't play 38 minutes a game. It's just too much. I'm putting him in a situation not to be successful late in games. And again, Butts is an experienced guy. We hope can give us that. Isaiah's done that at times. So we definitely need help right there, some depth for sure.
With Butts, I know we talked about him the other day, probably some of his best minutes of the season, last game. Did you notice anything different from him kind of leading into that or since that game?
Well, Jared, if you'll think about this, he had really good preparation coming back after Christmas going into Louisiana Tech. I thought he was ready to play at Louisiana Tech. He had great preparation. Unfortunate for him, he gets in the game, picks up 3 fouls in about 1 minute and 20 seconds. Well, that's from probably a couple of them may not be very smart, but at least I thought he was energetic and trying. He may have played a lot of minutes before and not get a foul. So he really never had an opportunity to get going in that game because we needed him. We needed another body in there, but he came in the other night and for sure 4 offensive rebounds, and rebounding's always about effort. That's a season high for him, and I still believe he's the one guy you can throw it to on that block. He's got a chance to go get a basket, and we need that. Did that answer your question? Okay.
Coach, just one month since the tornadoes yesterday. It was a crazy month for you guys, just between Kentucky rescheduling the center game, Louisville, of course, that big weekend. Can you reflect on this time period that is coming to play over the past month?
Well, the scheduling part was no adjustment for us after going through last year. I mean, last year it was literally to come off your practice court and figure out where you're going next. That's kind of what last year was. So making one little switch there, that was easy for Zach this year. The most difficult thing for this community has been that tornado. I mean, as bad as the virus has been for everybody for the last year and a half, nothing did the damage that the tornadoes did to this community. And you get reminded by that every day I come in Nashville Road, where that turnaround is, isn't it? Roundabout is. You drive down there around that roundabout, you're going to get reminded of that maybe for years. Those houses still sitting there with no roofs on. So that's been a challenge for all the community. As a basketball team, it's just great to be able to continue to find ways to get continuity. Let's get some consistency. Let's play on a Thursday. Let's play on a Saturday. Let's get these fans back in here. We're sitting around here still with masks on, and it's all good. It's all good, man. But it'll be good someday where we can all totally get back to normal. You don't have to worry sitting around with masks on, and people can come and cheer and show up, and we can talk after the game and still not try to draw on those lines around us. But for the most part, we've tried to keep that as normal as we can with our team right now. And getting back on some routine games, I think that'll help us too.
Kind of touching on that, and ask the players this, but with everything that's happened, does it sort of give you guys an extra motivation this year, not just to win, but to win for the fans, to win for the city, going as far as you guys can down the stretch?
Well, again, that's hopefully it's part of who you are no matter what happens. I mean, it's hopefully that we don't need no, outside motivation from that to make you want to win, want to play well for your community and all that. But, one thing you can always point to on top of that is when you think you have a problem, you don't have a problem. Well, you're worried about this pregame meal, that's not a problem. A little nick and bruise you have, that's not a problem. So from that standpoint, there's some things that our guys had firsthand opportunities to relate situations to by going out in community and seeing it, going out in community and, and trying to, help give back and let them see that, and I keep saying this, at the end of the day, there's a lot of emphasis put on it. And we as coaches and players, it's our lives. It's what we do. But at the end of the day, it's a game. It's real. It's a game. And again, it takes things sometimes in people's lives to help remind you of that. People who can't be reminded of that. And that's the real world that happened out there. And again, if people can take that and use that to make themselves better people and better players, that's what you need to do. And be thankful and grateful for the opportunities and abilities that you have, and not always worry about little things in your lives that may not be just perfect. So those are things that you hope you can take from those situations.